Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the 26th presentation in NOAA's Environmental Leadership Seminar Series, or NELS. The goals of these seminars is to showcase examples of NOAA's leadership in environmental science by those who lead it and make it happen. My name is Tracy Gill, coordinator of NOAA's National Ocean Service Science Seminar Series and member of the NELS team, and I'm your host for today. I would like to acknowledge the people who support this NOAA Environmental Leadership Webinar Series. Thanks to the NOAA Science Council, who sponsors this series, and to the NELS team I work with to produce these seminars, without whom none of these talks would happen. First, Hernan Garcia, oceanographer with NOAA's National Environmental Satellite Data Information Service, or NESDIS. Sandra Clare, administrative officer with NESDIS CAO. And Katie Rowley, outreach librarian at the NOAA Central Library with NOAA's Oceanic and Atmospheric Research, or OAR. And our new NELS team member, Robert Levy, video studio manager for the NOAA studio, who will now be taking over as technical lead for this webinar series. Thanks, Rob. Others join us occasionally to support these series, and this month we'd like to thank Joseph Conrad, an economist on Dr. Grasso's team at the Social Science and Performance Division in the NOAA Office of the Chief Financial Officer, and the captioner with Federal Relay Captioning for making this webinar more accessible. One moment. Okay. And here are a few logistics. All attendees are muted. Adobe Connect attendees may post their questions and comments into the Q&A pod at any time, and our speaker will address as many questions and comments as she can at the end. If you are having technical issues, email robert.levy@noaa.gov. After this introduction, Dr. Grasso will present, and then we will take questions and comments, and we will get to as many questions as we can. If your system is lagging, turn off any extra apps, close tabs in Windows, and especially VPN, or try logging out and logging back in. This webinar is being recorded for later viewing. You may access the video and PDF of the slides within a few days at the link shown in the event notes. So today's NELS seminar is titled Valuing NOAA Products and Services, Connecting to Society Through Economics and Social Science. And our speaker is Dr. Monica Grasso, and here's some background on her. Dr. Monica Grasso joined NOAA in May 2016 as the Chief Economist in the Performance, Risk, and Social Science Office at the Office of the Chief Financial Officer. Dr. Grasso leads NOAA's Social Science and Performance team. She provides expertise and strategic leadership to promote, coordinate, and implement the use of rigorous economic analysis and performance metrics to support NOAA's mission. Prior to joining NOAA, Dr. Grasso served as Chief Economist at the Transportation Security Administration in the Department of Homeland Security, providing expert advice, guidance, and assistance to the agency's leadership and key management officials on economic trends in the transportation industry and the impact of policies on public and industry. Monica has also served at the U.S. Coast Guard as Senior Economist, working on key environmental safety and security issues such as water quality, control of aquatic invasive species, including ballast water discharge regulations, towing and fishing vessel safety, and port security. Dr. Grasso holds a Master's of Science degree in Oceanography from the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil, and a PhD in Environmental Economics from the University of Maryland, a certificate in Advanced Business Management from Georgetown University, and an executive education from the Harvard Kennedy School. Welcome, Dr. Grasso. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I'm really honored to be here speaking in this NOAA Leadership Series today. And I also like to extend my super thank you to Hernan Garcia and the whole NELS team to get this presentation organized with the logistics and everything. And also thanks to Joe for helping me with the slides and the Q&A session. So as Tracy said, I'm NOAA Chief Economist. I've been here at NOAA since 2016. And I started my career, actually my academic career, working on ecosystem valuation services. And then when I transitioned to the public service, I became, I think I can say I became a regulatory economist working on different regulatory actions related to environmental regulations and also security regulations. So I've been exposed to different types of thinking and following economics methods and also work with the different teams. And what attracts me the most in economics, and I think that's why I decide to keep my career this way, is the multidisciplinary nature of the problems we are trying to solve. I'm a firm believer that if you learn how to work in a multidisciplinary environment, you'll be ready to manage any challenge ahead of you. You have to, in an interdisciplinary team, you do have to work with folks with different backgrounds, different ways to communicate, and you have different levels of authority. So it's a very complex environment, and it's very challenging, but very rewarding as well. So just in this presentation, I'm going to take this opportunity to introduce my team and my office. And my office, the Performance, Risk, and Social Science, we are fairly new, so I do recognize that not everybody might have heard about us. And I'll talk a bit about the work we do, and then I'll cover one very important topic for NOAA is how to value our products and service with special focus on observations. So just an overview of our office and what we do. The Performance, Risk, and Social Science was established, I think, about 6 years ago. And it is a staff office under the Office of the Chief Financial Officer. Our office provides NOAA enterprise level decision support on performance and strategic planning. So we work with NOAA line officers on developing enterprise level performance measures. And we also work as a liaison with the DOC on high level performance and strategic planning. We do economics, and we start looking into doing evaluations as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about in detail about the economics. We also have a group that does the enterprise risk management and the project management. We lead and manage the Project Management Council for NOAA. I'm going to talk a little bit about my team. So within the Performance, Risk, and Social Science, my team provides decision support in topics related to social, behavior, economic science, with the intention to accomplish NOAA's missions and priorities. And we support NOAA by developing guidance and review on economic analysis. We also work on shaping studies and evidence for budget proposals and justifications. We coordinate topics related to economics and social science for the agency, both inside the agency and externally with external stakeholders. And finally, we also develop studies, our own studies on economic valuation and societal benefits. So we have a very small team. We have 8 economists, but we do have a broad area of expertise. We have folks with expertise in doing cost-benefit analysis, econometrics, or statistical analysis, risk analysis, Monte Carlo analysis, social science research, regulatory impact analysis, working on survey designs and sampling, and also on the information collection requests as part of the Paperwork Reduction Act process. So here, I just want to highlight some of our major publications from our team that you might have seen before. On 2018, we published our first version of the NOAA by the Numbers. Is the first publication you see on your left. And this publication is now, we have a new version, and we are trying to move to a virtual as much as possible. So the latest version of this publication is now available on the Science Council website. And the NOAA by the Numbers is basically a collection of data and economic statistics relevant to NOAA's missions and programs that highlights the agency's substantial contributions to the well-being of American public. For this latest version that we have in the Science Council website, we gather over 900 publications on the value of services that relates to NOAA's missions. And then another report that you see, the next report, is our NOAA's contribution to the economy, which build up on the NOAA by the Numbers from 2018 and provides a comprehensive narrative of the agency's influence in promoting national security, safety, and economic prosperity. The report takes a snapshot of the number of economic sectors focusing on NOAA's unique and impactful role in powering growth, creating jobs, and saving lives. We also developed a practical guide on weather hazard communication with a series of best practice from NOAA and other agencies as well. And our most recent publication was done in collaboration with the OER, the Oceanic and Atmospheric Research Office, and it is a roadmap to value research products. All those publications are available on our website. I'll be more than happy to share a copy with any of you. Just send me an email. You have my email address at the end of this presentation. Okay, now I also want to call your attention to this NOAA administrative order. In 2019, NOAA established an NAO to ensure the development of effective and robust economic analysis, as well as to coordinate and align reporting with the Department of Commerce, the Office of Management and Budget, that's OMB, and the White House. And since then, we have been supporting NOAA's office without social science capabilities. And beyond just economic analysis, our office also coordinates with OMB on reviewing complex discretionary information collection requests that are subject to the Paperwork Reduction Act. We have recently established a Paperwork Reduction Act NOAA Community of Practice to share information and lessons learned about the process. My office also holds the Social Science Committee. I am the chair of the NOAA Social Science Committee, and we have two co-chairs currently from OER. The Social Science Committee reports to the NOAA Science Council. And the committee focuses on strengthening, coordinating, and integrating the agency's social science research and analysis capabilities, and has representatives from all line offices and from some staff offices as well. So beyond NOAA, our team also coordinates interagency works related to economic and social science. For example, we have been partnering with USGS and NASA to improve our understanding on the value of Earth observations. We have conducted workshops together, and we are now developing an interagency social benefits repository, as was required by the White House 2019 U.S. National Plan for Civil Earth Observations. For this repository, it seeks to collect economic studies and synthesize the state of art of the knowledge of the economic value of Earth observations, and will be actually hosted on the USGS Human Dimensions website, but it's not available yet, but should be ready hopefully this year. And we are also co-developing a solicitation with NASA and USGS to fund a consortium connecting satellite observations to societal benefits. And internationally, we collaborated with the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, by contributing to improved ocean economy measurements at national and international levels, and also mapping the landscape of ocean science, technology, and innovation for the sustainable development of the ocean economy. And finally, we have been working with the Bureau of Economic Analysis for over 4 years on the development of the first US official marine economy satellite account, which measures the marine dependent industry contributions to the US economy. We're using a methodology that is consistent with the BEA's core statistics, such as the Grasso metric product. Okay, now that I introduced my office and what we do, we're going to be moving to the second part of my presentation and focus on how we go about understanding and valuing NOAA's observation. So why measure societal benefits? So measuring the value of our products and services actually help us understand how the agency is actually providing the service that society needs. And this information is ultimately helpful to align the agency operation with investments with the public value. With support, we also, with that information, help support budget justification and future investments, and understand and actually articulate to our stakeholders the value of NOAA services. So before we start an assessment, here are some key questions that we need to have in mind. And they're very important, and I recognize they're not easy questions, but it's good to have in mind before we start really thinking about doing evaluation studies. So what decisions are being influenced by the information? Who's making those decisions? What outcomes are being improved? To what degree are those outcomes improved? How many people are affected by these outcomes? And I can't stress enough that collaboration is a must. Valuation of NOAA products and services is not easy and requires a coordination team of economists, physical scientists, and external users and decision makers that leverage the NOAA products and services. Now, across every line office, every NOAA line office, the agency employs a diverse set of remote and in situ observations to understand the phenomena surrounding its mission. For example, we combine in situ or local observations from aircraft and drop zones with remote satellite and ground-based observations to study and predict the weather. Another example would be combining measurements from our NOAA ship with uncrewed systems, and finally, biologists and social scientists to better understand and manage America's fisheries. And satellites and aircraft observations also would help in this scenario. So we have a very complex and rich observation system that in most cases complement each other to provide the best information available. So how do we connect these observations with the societal benefits? It is how NOAA defines this information coming from observation system into externally facing products, services, and potential interventions that creates the value. So this waterfall diagram provides a framework economists and other social scientists employ to understand how observations impact society. First, we need to understand what data is provided by the observation systems. Then we need to identify the downstream models and direct users of observational data. Discover the impact of observing systems to models and users. Then trace NOAA internal data processing to public-facing products. And then connect public-facing products to societal areas. And finally, review existing literature and conduct original analysis to develop valuation approach for the observing systems. So I know this figure is a little complicated, but it just demonstrates how complex our portfolio of observations is. So connecting the observing systems to the products or service is extremely difficult. We have been working with very closely with our NESDA's Office of Technology Planning and Integration for Observations, TPIO, for the use of the analytical tool and data. And we are very thankful that this analysis is actually available to us. The TPO, the office, maintains a catalog of user observation requirements, observation capabilities, and for us, the most useful for us is the NOAA value tree that connects the observations to downstream models and ultimately the public-facing product services. So using their embedded analysis, we can usually have some understanding of the potential impacts of an observation to that public-facing products or services. Okay, so using all the information we gathered about the observation systems, we then develop what we call the value chain, which defines the linkage between observations, NOAA products, improved by those observations, and societal outcomes improved through the use of products. It goes from the raw observational data that is ingested and processed into numerical models. Then it's served in real time to weather or ocean offices who incorporate this information to provide public forecasts and models. The data also is also collected and archived for climate modeling, research, and other long-term analysis. When the information leaves NOAA, it might be used directly by the public and also further refined through commercial providers and then disseminated. Other users of NOAA data might include state and local government, urban planners, emergency managers, private businesses, academia, etc. With this information, they might inform significant decisions such as hurricane evacuations, construction of a levee, but also personal decisions such as to host an outdoor event or not, or to leave work early because of a rain or bad weather. On the bottom portion of this value chain, we also identify power users of NOAA data, such those commercial providers or academic institutions that might take the raw data directly and use it in their own models and research. Okay, next step, following the value chain. We then employ the value of information framework. So the value of information framework looks at how a decision maker alters the status quo behavior with the new information. So the value chain is necessary for us to understand where the data is coming from and how it is used. The value of information is realized when information influences decisions that affect outcomes. We do this by comparing the outcome enhanced with the newly provided data that will be represented here by outcome A, with a counterfactual or previous outcome using the status quo information. In this case, it's outcome B. The difference between outcome A and outcome B is the value or the benefit of the newly provided information. If this data or information touches on more than one decision, each of these use cases must be understood to get the total valuation. So once we know the difference in outcomes, we, the economists, can start working and monetize the value of these outcomes. And usually the most frequent outcomes that we're looking for and that will be almost straightforward for us to evaluate are reduced mortality and injuries due to change of behavior as a result of receiving that additional information, reduced damage to properties and natural resource, reduce disruption of economic activities, or reduce interruption of business and delays in travel times, for example. So as quantifying the benefits requires extensive effort, and given the large number of products one observation platform can support, how do we go about selecting the product for our evaluation study? So we use the following criteria. We look at products that are likely has significant benefit to society. Products that a product that has a high dependency on data from the NOAA observation platform to be valued, and data that are available to robustly quantify, monetize the society benefit of the product. Sometimes we find products that have a high dependency, but there's no data or not previous studies that can help us quantify the benefits. So it's really difficult for us to move forward. So here's just one example, a study we did for the NOAA Fleet Benefit Study. And for this study, we identified 638 fleet-dependent products that were in the NOAA TPIO database. And from them, we were able to identify 12 that were highly dependent on the fleet data. And then only 6, we were able to identify studies for only 6 of them that would allow us to assign monetary values. Now, closing, I just want to say that this presentation focuses on the value of observations, but the methods are easily transferable to other evaluation topics and can easily be applied to the value of research, for example. Understanding how the service or product is used outside the agency is key to the valuation process. So user engagement is a fundamental part of this process. And the value studies, they do take time and significant effort. So I always say that, the office should engage a social scientist early in the process, the earliest, the better, because we can help guide the data collection and help formulate the questions with the line notes. And finally, I think I just want to highlight that economics is about people. It's not about the mathematical models. It is fundamentally about how people behave and make decisions. And therefore, the context in which these decisions are being made are extremely important. So social science is key for us. Investing in understanding our users is key for us to develop good evaluation studies. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. And you have my email address. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Grasso. That was terrific. So Joseph Conrad is going to be moderating the questions for Dr. Grasso. And so Joe, take it away. Why don't you start with question 1?
Thanks, Tracy, and thank you, Monica. And also thank you, Rob, for hosting us. I guess before we get into the questions, I had one myself. And so I was just kind of curious, what are the next big steps for NOAA, I guess, in working on valuation for the agency?
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, so this is a great question. NOAA is, I'll say, a very complex agency, and we do have, I think within the line offices, we do have different levels of capacity for developing valuation studies. But I'll say that creating a enterprise level infrastructure for us to be able to collect and archive and keep social science information and user information is key for us to have a streamlined process, I would say, in valuation. So infrastructure will be great to have. Also, one thing that we found as we worked with the different line offices and most particularly with satellites, with NASA's, is if we have the NOAA for observations, we develop what we call the OSSIS, the Observation Systems Experiment. And I'd love to see how we could incorporate societal outcomes on this experiment. That would be completely innovative, and I think it would be a great exercise for us to explore.
Thank you, Monica. I guess now going to our participants, I have a question from Huia, and they ask, does the NOAA Economist team evaluate how improvements in NOAA aviation forecast products save lives and improve fuel efficiency?
Yes. So when we work with specific products and services, we do look into, as I said, the products and services that could provide high benefits to society, and I'll say aviation is a key one for us, and we do look into calculating the benefits of providing this additional information. So we do try to monetize. We work closely with some other agencies to help us find the best way to monetize the value of improved, like saving for fuel and life saved.
Thank you, Monica. The next question comes from Margaret, and they ask, how do you address potential use of multiple sources of data in achieving the outcome? If the outcome involved multiple data sources and some were not from NOAA, would the full value of the outcome be attributed to NOAA?
That's a great question, and not ideally, we try to get as much information as possible on the specific contribution from NOAA. So it is, but it is a very, very difficult for us to really identify all the multiple sources and how much they contribute. But we do, that's why we work very closely with the TPIO that really have that information. We're very lucky at NOAA that we do have the information. Look at the actual percentage that this observation contribute to a certain product, so we can try to make this disaggregation. But that's not easy to do.
Thank you, Monica. And the next question comes from Tracy, and she asks, can smaller NOAA projects get or conduct valuations? Is there a way they can estimate these themselves?
Yes, there is. I'll say it's hard to say. I don't know what type of project and how much information you have, but it's totally doable. And I'll say send us an email and let us know what are you looking at, and we might be able to help you, guide you on your valuation.
Thank you, Monica. And a similar question, I guess Robert asks, do you intend to look at the impact of how power users impact both the economy and social impact in the future? These would include the private sector weather industry, but also how the energy sector uses environmental models.
Yes, we are actually looking into different sectors. When we do our evaluation, we do look into different sectors and how our information is actually being used by those power users and very key sectors of the economy. So we do try our best to have an assessment there.
Thank you. And then David asks, what are the most common socioeconomic processes used by your office to evaluate observation systems?
So basically what I just went through, so we do gather the information of the observation you're looking for, and the most straightforward process for us is actually to build the value chain. So when we build the value chain, we do try to have a better understanding of how this product and service flows through the chain and how it is used inside and outside the agency as well. So that's our way to really start understanding the observation system.
Thank you, Monica. And then the next question is from Christopher, and he asks, what are the risks for NOAA if the agency does not invest in understanding the societal value of NOAA products and services?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great question. So as I have in my presentation, it's really important. The exercise of valuing an observation system is, I'll say, it's very important because it makes us understand why we are doing this product and how what's the value proposition of this product, right? So if we have this understanding, we can align our investments, we can improve our products, and the risk is that we are not having this understanding, not producing, not really looking into the value to society, and not producing what we should be producing. So it is, I would say the valuation process is a great exercise for us to see our shortfalls on what type of data we don't have, who we don't know, and what products we really don't know are being used and by and how. So yeah, and of course this can trickles down to budget or having not a product, getting the funds they need because they cannot really justify their existence. So I recognize that developing valuation studies are really it requires a lot of effort, but I think it's really worth it.
Thank you, Monica. The next question comes from Edward, and he asks, how do you factor the prevailing perceived gravity, I guess, as in significance of the state of the climate? For instance, if the climate were hypothetically changing in an adverse way, then climate information would ostensibly be of greater value.
Can you repeat this question again?
Sure.
Gravity.
Yes. Edward's asking, how do you factor I guess it's the perceived significance of the state of the climate, I guess how much climate's being really discussed right now. And I guess he asks, for instance, if the climate were hypothetically changing in an adverse way, then climate information would ostensibly be of greater value.
Yes, so climate information is a great value. So you can see by behaviors change in big corporations, banks, and you see there is a move to better understand the climate, have better information so they can make decisions. So yes, climate information is as it gets, the risk increases, you see it, yeah, it's a very valuable information for all of us.
Thank you, Monica. And then the next question comes from Jennifer. And she asks, how does the PRSSO team usually collaborate with other line offices? And I believe your presentation kind of discussed this a little bit, but maybe just for reiteration's sake.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we do, as I said, we are a small team. We'd love to work with all the line offices at NOAA. But we usually work with line offices that approach us, and then we'll see what we can do with the resource we have. So sometimes We help the line offices develop a scope of work for a contractor to develop their own valuation studies. Sometimes if it's a priority for our office and for NOAA leadership, we'll conduct the studies ourselves. So for example, last year we did a cost benefit analysis for the G550 aircraft. We did ourselves, and this was for OMB. It was requested by OMB, and we did it. Our small team did this in record time, actually. But yes, and basically the line officers can reach us, just send us an email. We'll do a case by case for now. We try to develop guidances. We have the Social Science Committee. We have the PRA Community of Practice to transfer the knowledge and lessons learned to the other line offices. So it does vary, but if any of you have any questions and would like to do any studies, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll do our best to support your line office.
Thank you, Monica. And then from David, we have a question, I guess, talking about methods. Do you use interview protocols for the general public very often, considering the length of time needed to get an OMB approval for non-federal personnel?
Yes. So, yeah, thank you for this question. Yes, the OMB approval can be lengthy depending on the type of information you're collecting on your surveys. We actually, our office has not done a survey yet for evaluation. We have been working with previous studies, but we do help the line offices that have to do and design surveys. We help them to go through the OMB process. And some time ago, NOAA had a huge backlog of discretionary requests at OMB, and that's why we developed this process. So we help the offices to develop more complex, robust requests that include statistical analysis. And so we review those requests, and we try to make sure the line officers have all the information that OMB would be looking for, so it can expedite the process. But it is something that the officers do need to plan really well for the timing for designing a survey. And I will say, if you're thinking about starting a survey, try to engage our PRA officer as soon as possible, because then you start your conversation with OMB, and we can also help you with the process and what things need to be in your request. So yes, it's a process we need to go through. It'd be great if you start early and plan for time to have those surveys. Now we are looking into ways of reducing the need for such surveys. I've been recently working with census to get access to the microdata and see what type of data we'll be able to use, and see if there are ways that we can have more social science information available to the line officers, so we don't all need to go through the PRA process. But it's a long way, and We are always here to help. Just let us know.
Thank you, Monica. And I guess we don't want to cross-examine you if you want to wrap it up, I guess, with maybe one or two more questions. I think this one was quite interesting from a Sid. And he asked, could you comment on the feasibility of predicting the socioeconomic value of future observing systems, which would be useful to justify and or optimize the plans for next generation architecture?
That's a great question. Thank you. Yes, it is feasible. I think, of course, it's challenging, but it's really important to understand the risks we have ahead of us and the needs we have in the future. And I think engaging the user ahead of time and trying to understand the future needs is extremely important. As I said in my presentation, economics is all about people. So if we can have this conversation with our users and understand the context and the future needs, I think it's feasible to start putting the pieces together.
Thank you, Monica. And I guess to wrap it up, we'll have one more question from Kristen. And she asks, how are you valuing the internal and external research uses of observing systems? Are you looking at publications?
Yeah, for now, we are looking at publications. We do use, and as I said, we gathered a lot of publications related to NOAA's NOAA's mission, but we so we're using, at this point, we're using publications.
Thank you, Monica. And I guess we'll conclude there. Are there any final comments you would like to add until Tracy wraps us up?
No, I just want to say thank you all. Thank you for all those questions. Say this topic is not simple. I'm sorry, we have some complex slides, but I'll just say feel free to reach out to us again. And thank you all for participating. Thanks, Joe, for moderating the questions.
Of course.
And thank you, Tracy. You can close now.
Okay, Monica, thank you for a very illuminating seminar. I did not know any of that. That's all new to me. So I want to thank everyone for your questions and comments. And you can email Dr. Grasso at monica.grasso@noaa.gov if you have any further questions. Thanks to Monica, her colleague Joe Conran for moderating the Q&A, Rob Levy for hosting, and our captioner who helped make this webinar more accessible. Our next NOAA Environmental Leadership Seminar is on Tuesday, March 8th at 2 p.m. and it's titled Equity in Climate Science and Policy by Ms. Co Barrett, NOAA's Senior Advisor for Climate. We hope you can attend, and I have dropped the sign-up link into the chat so you can register now if you like. So thanks again for joining us, everyone. And the recording and the PDF will be put up at the NOAA Science Seminar website within a few days in case you want to see this webinar again or pass it along to your friends. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.